Claire sat by the window of the bus that carried her to the airport. The lights of the city flashed past her eyes, but she did not see them. Her thoughts were heavy, and her chest hurt. She had trusted someone with all her heart, and he had left her with nothing but pain. The ring that once promised forever was no longer on her finger. She pressed her hands together and told herself she would never look back. The airport was crowded, filled with people rushing to their gates. Claire moved through them with her small suitcase rolling behind her. She looked like any other traveler, yet inside she felt empty. She told herself she would go anywhere far, anywhere that could hide her from the memories she wanted to erase. Her steps were steady, but her heart was weak. She stood at the counter and asked for a ticket. Her voice shook, but she did not care. The agent asked her where she wanted to go, and she said it did not matter. She only wanted to leave. She felt that the world had turned cold and she had no place left in it. Not far away, Ethan watched her. He was a man who owned much and controlled more, yet he carried his own silence, had money, power, and respect, but none of it gave him peace. Often walked through crowds and felt like no one could see him. Yet when he saw Claire, he noticed her pain as if it was his own. He could not explain why his eyes followed her, why her trembling voice stayed with him, or why his chest felt tight when she lowered her head. Claire moved to sit in the waiting area, hugging her coat close around her. Ethan should have turned away and gone about his own life, but something held him still. It was not her beauty alone, though she carried a quiet grace. It was the sadness in her face, the kind of sadness that spoke louder than words. He felt a pull, strong and strange, as though an invisible thread had tied him to her. He did not know her name, he did not know her story. But he knew he could not let her disappear without finding out why fate had placed her in his path that night. Ethan sat in the corner of the waiting area, his eyes still fixed on Claire. He told himself to look away, but he could not. She sat with her suitcase by her feet, staring at the floor as if the world around her no longer mattered. Her hands trembled when she pulled her phone out. Then she put it back without using it. She looked like someone running from more than a place. She looked like someone running from herself. He leaned back in his seat, but every sound she made reached him. When she sighed, he felt it. When she pressed her fingers against her forehead, he felt it again. He wondered who had hurt her so deeply. Claire stood up and walked back to the counter. Ethan followed slowly, careful not to draw attention. He stopped near enough to hear her. "I just need any ticket out of here," she said to the agent. Her voice was low and unsteady. "I do not care where. The first flight leaving tonight, please." Ethan felt his chest tighten. No one asked for a ticket like that unless they were desperate. He saw her hands shake as she handed her card across the counter. The agent clicked at the computer, nodding, and Claire waited with her head bowed. She turned slightly and saw Ethan standing there. Her eyes met his for a second. She looked away at once, as though she feared he had seen too much. Ethan looked down, pretending he was busy with his phone, but inside he felt the strange pull grow stronger. He told himself it was none of his business. She was a stranger, and he had no reason to step in. Yet the thought of her leaving without a word struck him with a force he had never felt before. Claire took the ticket and walked back to her seat. Ethan sat a few rows behind her now. She was about to disappear from his life before it had even begun. He could not explain it, but the idea made him restless. His mind searched for reasons to let her go, but his heart searched for one reason to stop her. The more he watched her, the clearer it became. He could not let her walk away. Fate had pulled their paths together, and he would not allow it to end before it even started. Claire sat with the ticket in her hand, staring at the printed words without really reading them. Her mind was far away, trapped between anger at the past and fear of the future. She told herself this was the only choice left. She could not go back, and she did not know where she was going, but anywhere was better than staying broken. Ethan rose from his seat and walked toward her. He did not plan what he would say. All he knew was that he could not let her board that plane without trying. His steps were steady, but his heart raced. When he reached her, Claire looked up in surprise. "You do not have to run," Ethan said, his voice calm but firm. Claire frowned. "Excuse me? Do I know you?" "No," Ethan admitted, "but I saw you at the counter. You asked for any ticket out of here. People do not do that unless they are hurting." Claire shifted in her seat, guarding herself. "Whatever I am doing is not your concern. I am fine." Ethan could see the battle inside her. I'm sorry if this feels strange, Ethan said, lowering his tone. I just do not want to see you walk away like this. Maybe you need someone to listen, maybe just for a moment. Claire looked at him with tired eyes. She wanted to tell him to leave, but something in his face stopped her. He was not pitying her. He was not curious like others. He looked like he understood what it felt like to carry a weight no one else could see. Why would you care? She asked softly. Ethan paused. The truth was simple, yet hard to say. Because I know what it is like to feel alone in a crowd. And because when I saw you, it felt like I was not meant to let you go. Claire stared at him, caught between disbelief and the strange spark that stirred in her chest. She had promised herself not to trust anyone again, but for the first time in months, she felt someone had seen her pain without her saying a word. She wanted to turn away, yet she could not. The pull between them grew stronger, and neither of them could deny it. Claire sat back in her chair, unsure of what to say. Ethan's words unsettled her, not because they were harsh, but because they carried a truth she could not ignore. She studied his face, searching for any sign of false intent, but all she saw was steady eyes that did not look away from hers. You do not even know my name, Claire said at last. Then tell me, Ethan answered. She hesitated, then whispered, Claire. He nodded slowly, as if the name mattered more than she believed. I am Ethan. They sat in silence for a moment, the noise of the airport filling the space between them. Claire looked down at the ticket in her hands. I do not understand why you care what I do. Ethan leaned forward. Because I have been where you are. I had everything a person could want, yet I felt empty. It took me a long time to admit it. When I saw you, it felt like I was looking at myself. Claire tightened her grip on the ticket. Someone I trusted broke me. I thought my life was planned, and then it was gone in one moment. I cannot stay where everything reminds me of it. I am not asking you to stay, Ethan said gently. I am asking you not to run from yourself. Sometimes leaving is right, but sometimes it only hides the wound instead of healing it. His words struck her deeper than she wished to admit. No one had spoken to her like that since her world fell apart. She had been drowning in silence. Yet this stranger had stepped into her storm without fear. Claire let out a slow breath. I do not know if I can trust anyone again. Then start by trusting this moment, Ethan replied. Just talk to me, nothing more. I will not ask for what you cannot give. For the first time since she walked into the airport, Claire felt the weight on her chest shift. She did not understand why, but she wanted to believe him, so she stayed seated, the ticket still in her hand. While Ethan sat across from her, a stranger surrounded by rushing crowds, yet bound by a thread neither of them could see. The loudspeaker announced boarding for Claire's flight. She looked down at the ticket again, her fingers pressing against the thin paper, as if it held her escape. Ethan noticed the way her hand shook. His heart pounded because he knew that if she stood up now, she would vanish from his life. Claire rose slowly, pulling her suitcase handle upright. Ethan stood too, every part of him screaming not to let her walk away. She gave him one last look, a guarded look that seemed to say thank you, but goodbye. He could not accept it. As she turned toward the gate, Ethan pushed through the crowd until he reached her side. Claire, he said, his voice stronger than he expected. She froze, her steps halting. People hurried past them, but it felt like time stopped around them. Do not leave like this, Ethan said, his chest tight. I cannot explain why, but I know you are meant to be in my life. If you step on that plane, I may never find you again. Claire stared at him, her eyes wide with shock. You do not know me. You cannot say that. I do not have to know everything, Ethan said. All I know is that when I saw you, something inside me changed. I do not want to let you go. Claire's lips parted, but no words came out. She felt the same strange pull, yet fear battled inside her. She'd already lost once, and the idea of trusting again terrified her. The boarding gate called her group again. She looked at the line forming, looked back at Ethan, who now held her gaze with a fire she had never seen before. He reached out, not grabbing but offering his hand. Marry me, he said, his voice steady. The words struck Claire like a storm. Her heart raced as the crowd around them fell silent for a moment, eyes turning toward them. She had been running from love, from pain, from herself. Now here was a man she barely knew, asking her to stay. asking her to believe in something greater than fear. She trembled, caught between the gate that promised escape and the man whose words tied her soul in place. Claire stood frozen, her suitcase by her side and her heart racing. She could hardly believe what she had just heard. "Marry me." The words echoed in her mind, louder than the noise of the airport. She searched Ethan's face, waiting to see if he was joking or careless. But his eyes were steady, his expression firm, and there was no hint of doubt. People slowed down around them, curious glances falling on the scene. Claire felt the weight of every stare, but what shook her most was the weight of Ethan's words. "You cannot mean that," she whispered, her voice unsteady. "You do not even know me." "I know enough," Ethan answered without hesitation. "I know that I cannot let you walk out of my life. I know that the moment I saw you, something inside me told me not to lose you. It makes no sense, but it feels more real than anything I have known." Claire shook her head, her throat tight. "You do not understand what I have been through. I am not someone who can just say yes to this. My heart is broken. I cannot give you what you want." Ethan stepped closer, his voice softer, but still firm. "I am not asking you to fix what is broken. I am asking you to let me stand with you. I am not here to save you, Claire. You have already saved me without even knowing it." The truth in his words struck her. She remembered the emptiness that had pushed her to buy a ticket to nowhere. Yet here was a man who had looked past her walls and spoken to her as if her pain mattered. Her chest rose and fell quickly as tears burned her eyes. "This is impossible," she said. "It is only impossible if you walk away," Ethan replied. "Give me a chance. Give us a chance. Even if it is only one step forward." The gate called her group for the final time. Claire glanced at the line moving ahead. Then she looked back at Ethan, who held his hand out again, waiting but not forcing her. Her pulse thundered. She knew this choice would change everything. One path led to escape and silence, the other to risk and hope. Her heart pulled toward him, and the invisible string between them grew stronger with every breath. Claire's breath caught as she stood between the gate and Ethan. The voice on the loudspeaker reminded passengers to board, but her mind was no longer on the flight. The ticket in her hand felt heavy, while Ethan's hand reached out with a different kind of weight. It was not paper or promise of escape. It was something far deeper. Her chest rose and fell quickly. People around them stared, some whispering, some smiling. She could not hide from the choice before her. Ethan did not move closer. He only waited. His eyes told her that he was ready to accept whatever she chose, but he would not take his hand back. Claire's heart pounded. She had sworn she would never believe in love again. Yet here was a man who had seen her pain without her speaking it. Here was a man who had stepped in when she thought no one cared. The gate agent called again, urging passengers forward. Claire looked down at the ticket once more, then slowly folded it in her hand. She let out a shaky breath, turned to Ethan, and placed her trembling hand in his. Gasps and soft claps rose from the crowd nearby. Ethan's face filled with relief and fire all at once. He pulled her closer, his voice low but steady. "You will not regret this. We will face everything together." Claire's eyes brimmed with tears, but this time they were not only from pain. For the first time since her world had broken, she felt the string of fate pull her forward instead of dragging her down. "Yes," she whispered, her voice unsteady but clear. "I'll stay." Ethan wrapped his arm around her, and the crowded airport seemed to fade away. In that moment, it was no longer about where she had been or where she planned to run. It was about the bond that tied them, strong and unseen, pulling two broken souls into one path. They walked away from the gate together, leaving the flight behind. The crowd slowly scattered, but the moment stayed etched in Claire's heart. She had been ready to vanish, yet fate had stopped her with 3 words. "Marry me." Now those words were the beginning of everything.